At age 73, the IRS is going to send you a bill, whether you are ready or not. It's called the Required Minimum Distribution, the RMD, and 84% of retirement savers are building that bill right now without knowing it exists. You've done everything right. You max the 401k, you watch the balance grow. You think you're winning. But there is a mandatory government withdrawal waiting for you at age 73 that could hand 40 to 50% of everything you've built straight to the IRS. And it happens at the worst possible moment in the market cycle. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how the trap works, who it's already hitting, and the specific Roth conversion ladder the top 1% uses to legally make their millions invisible to the IRS. Stay with me, because the move that protects your entire retirement takes less than 5 minutes to understand, and most people never learn it until it's too late. Your portfolio growth is strong right now, but if you don't plan for the exit, you're just a temporary custodian for the government's money.
In exactly 60 seconds, I'm going to show you the exact dollar amount a $2 million IRA forces you to withdraw and what tax bracket it catapults you into. But first, we need to visualize the disaster so you understand what's actually at stake. Imagine it's the year 2045. You've done it. You've hit that $3 million mark in your retirement accounts. You're ready to finally enjoy the life you've earned. And then, the government informs you that your required minimum distribution is $125,000. On top of that, tax brackets have shifted upward to cover a national debt that never stopped growing. You're forced to take out 6 figures. But after federal tax, state tax, and the hidden surcharges I'm about to reveal, you're only taking home 60 cents on the dollar. 40 years of your life, thousands of hours of stress, countless sacrifices, just to lose 40% of your purchasing power at the finish line. That is the invisible RMD trap. And we are closing the loop on that nightmare today.
Here is the core problem. Most people between 30 and 65 treat their 401k like a savings account. It is not a savings account. It is a debt obligation. Every dollar you put in is a dollar you haven't paid taxes on yet. The IRS isn't being generous by letting you defer those taxes. They're being patient. They are waiting for your account to compound so they can tax a much larger number later. Think of it this way. The government is a silent partner in your business. They do none of the work. They take none of the risk. But they own 30% of the equity, and they decide when to collect. Now, let's look at the mechanics. Data shows 84% of retirees take only the bare minimum the IRS forces them to take. They think they're being safe. They think they're letting the money grow. But that growth is a massive tax liability. Here is how it calculates. When you hit age 73, the IRS looks at your total account balance and your life expectancy. If your account has grown to $2 million, your first forced withdrawal is roughly $80,000. That $80,000 gets stacked on top of your Social Security income, on top of your dividends, on top of any pension or part-time income. Suddenly, you are not in the 12% bracket anymore. You've been catapulted into the 24% or 32% bracket. You are being punished for your success. At VaultWise, we call this the success tax. And if you don't see it coming, it will shred your net worth.
The success tax is just layer 1. Ghost layer 1 hits your Medicare, and I'm breaking it down right now. It gets deeper. Ghost layer 1. The Medicare IRMA glitch. Most people in their 40s and 50s assume Medicare is a flat, affordable fee. That is a total misconception. If your RMD pushes your income over a specific threshold, and if you've been a disciplined saver, it will the government hits you with something called the income-related monthly adjustment amount. This is a surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. We are talking thousands of dollars every year in extra healthcare costs, simply because you were successful. It's a stealth tax. Most people never see it coming until the letter arrives in the mail. This is how the government claws back the tax savings they gave you 30 years ago. And Ghost Layer 2 is the one that hits the hardest, because it doesn't target your portfolio. It targets your family. Picture this. You lose your spouse. You're grieving. The last thing on your mind is a tax strategy. And that is exactly when the IRS restructures your entire financial life without asking. Same account, same RMD amount, but now you are filing as a single person. Your tax brackets are cut in half. The tax bill doubles.
Stay with me, because this is exactly where the 1% playbook diverges from everything you've been told. The escape is real, and it starts right now. The truly wealthy do not wait until age 73 to touch their money. They start bleeding their tax-deferred accounts in their 50s and 60s. They use what we call the gap years, the strategic window between the day you stop working and the day Social Security, or RMDs, kick in. During those years, your reported income is low. This is when your financial leverage is at its absolute peak. Here is the move. You convert your traditional IRA money into a Roth IRA at the 10% or 12% tax bracket. You pay a small, controlled tax today to ensure you pay 0% tax for the rest of your life. Think about the power of that. If you move $50,000 a year into a Roth while you're in a low bracket, that money grows tax-free forever. No more RMDs. No more IRMA surcharges. No more widow's trap. You are building a tax-free fortress around your wealth. This is the difference between looking rich and actually being wealthy. And here is the piece that makes the Roth ladder even more powerful. Because the less income you show the IRA, the further you stay away from those IRMA thresholds and the lower your RMD tax hit when it arrives. This is why the top wealth builders in America follow what we call the looking poor strategy. The real flex in 2026 is not an $80,000 SUV or a second home you bought to impress people you don't even like. Real wealth building is being the person in the older car with a 7-figure brokerage account that nobody knows about. When you look poor, you lower your retirement number. You reduce the amount you need to pull from your accounts, keeping you under.
Now, let's talk about the bucket system, the blueprint that tells you exactly where each dollar lives so the IRS can never force your hand. The fatal mistake 84% of people make has nothing to do with which stocks they pick. It's where they keep their money. Bucket 1. Liquidity. 1 to 2 years of cash and equivalents. This is what keeps you from panic selling growth assets during a downturn. If this bucket lives inside a traditional IRA, accessing it triggers a taxable event at the worst possible moment. Bucket 2. Income. Social Security, dividends, fixed income. This covers your base lifestyle. If this bucket is starved because bucket 1 triggered a tax bill, you start pulling from your growth assets to pay grocery bills. That is how portfolios collapse in slow motion. Bucket 3, growth, equities, tech, long-term compounders. This is where wealth is built. If this bucket sits inside a traditional 401k, every gain is pre-taxed by the government before you ever see it. Every 10x return becomes a 6x return after the IRS takes their cut at the forced withdrawal rate. The 1% strategy is simple. Bucket 3 lives almost entirely in a Roth IRA. When your growth assets go 10x, you keep every single cent. No cap gains, no RMD trigger, no IRMA spike. That is the fortress. That is generational wealth that actually lasts.
Don't tap out now. The Social Security math coming up is the piece that ties everything together. Getting this wrong by 4 years costs most families over $100,000. If you're in your 30s or 40s, time is your greatest asset. Taxes are on sale right now compared to where they are headed. With the national debt trending where it is, do you honestly believe tax rates will be lower in 20 years? No chance. Prepay at the discount rate today or pay full price when the reckoning arrives. Which brings us to the $100,000 decision. When do you claim Social Security? Most people are Team 62. They want the check now. They're scared the system will change. They want their money back. But let's look at the cold math for 2026. If you wait until age 70, your monthly check is roughly 76% larger than it would be at 62. That is not just extra money. That is the ultimate hedge against the RMD trap. Social Security has incredible tax advantages. In many cases, up to 15% of it is completely tax-free at the federal level. By maximizing your Social Security and minimizing your RMDs through early Roth conversions, you create a cash flow machine the RSS can barely touch. Here is how the synergy works. If you claim at 62 while carrying a large traditional IRA, you are guaranteeing that your future RMDs will be taxed at the highest possible rates. They stack on top of Social Security and compound the damage. But if you spend those gap years drawing down the IRA and delaying Social Security to 70, you flip the script. You shrink the RMD bomb while growing your largest tax-advantaged income stream. That 4-year window between your full retirement age and age 70 is the most profitable period in a wealth builder's life. Do not waste it.
Retirement is not a savings problem. It is a strategy problem. The IRS has spent decades refining their playbook. The 1% has spent decades building their countermove. The rest of the 84% are still waiting to see how they feel at 65. Don't be the 84%. A Roth IRA is the only place in the entire American financial system where the government makes a promise and actually has to keep it. Once that money is in the Roth, it belongs to you entirely. They cannot RMD it. They cannot tax the growth. They cannot use it to hike your healthcare premiums. Take the wheel back. Start the conversion ladder. Build your buckets. And for the love of your future self, stop buying things to impress people who are just as financially stressed as you are. Real wealth is silent. Real wealth is invisible. Real wealth is a tax-free check that hits your account every month while you're enjoying the life you actually earned. You now know what 84% of retirement savers will never figure out until the IRS forces their hand. The RMD trap is real. The IRMA surcharge is real. The widow's tax is real. But so is the Roth ladder. And so is the gap year window that gives you the power to diffuse all three before age 73 arrives. If you want the exact Social Security timing breakdown, the $100,000 decision that determines whether your retirement is adequate or legendary, it is the next video on your screen right now. Hit subscribe to join the VoltWise community. Turn on notifications. Stop playing your financial life on hard mode. We hand you the 1% playbook, one video at a time. The math does not lie. People do.
Click that video now. I'll see you there. Go get your bag.